Hi guys, and welcome to my next video. So millions of us car drivers, and those car drivers that can't afford brand new cars, have to go through the MOT system, and a huge number of our cars fail due to sort of grey areas. So in this video, I'm going to look at those grey areas and see if I can sort of give pointers on them to help you um, look out what you think is your car is working perfectly, but it might not be passable in an MOT situation. And you've got no outright illegal mods, so it's not a dangerous wreck in your opinion, and drivers think everything's fine, but the MOT tester thinks differently. So today I'm breaking down 7 MOT grey areas that confuse most UK drivers, what the rules actually say, where testers have discretion, and well, let's see what they say. The dreaded warning light on the dashboard. Car seems to be running fine, but you've got this engine light on. So not all warning lights are treated equally when it comes to your MOT. The red warning light usually means an automatic fail. Amber lights depend on what part of the system the warning is related to. So for example, ABS light on, that's a fail. Airbag light on, that's an instant fail. Engine management light on, usually a fail, but a grey area. And that's because some older cars don't monitor certain systems in the same way, and some lights can come on after a self-check. The key point to remember is if a warning light stays illuminated once the engine is running, then expect trouble, expect a fail. Again, this is down to the testing station and the tester's discretion. Not all testing stations are equal when it comes to this type of thing, especially if it's an MOT centre attached to a repair centre. It may be that they book you in for the repair and then retest the vehicle and then pass it. The other area is tyres close to legal limit. How can you tell if they are or if they're not? You don't need a tool, and I've put this video up here now. You don't even need a tool to check your tyre depth are still legal. As you can see from this tyre, they all have you can see that very well, a bar running through the tread. If you can just see it there. And when this is a new tyre, so it's quite deep, but when it's, if you can zoom in, when it's level with that bar and smooth, you're actually on the legal limit, so it's time to think about getting a new tyre put on your car. Everybody knows tyres must be 1.6 millimeters across the central 3/4 of the tyre. But here's where the confusion comes in. If a tyre is just above the 1.6 millimeters, it's a pass. But it doesn't mean to say you're out of the woods, because it won't be long before you go even lower, use some more rubber. And if it's unevenly worn, you might have above the 1.6 millimeters, but then further across the tyre it's less or on the legal limit. This will trigger either an advisory or a fail. But if any part of the tyre is showing cords, that's an instant fail. So you can simply look at your tyre. Does it look in good condition? And as the video you watched before, if you can see plenty of tread over that central bar ring running across, more often than not, it's fine. look at the tyre wall, look at the age of the tyre. If there's visual cracking, that's a fail. That means you need a new tyre. So when looking at your tyre wall, you're going to try and find the dot code, which is this section here, and it's this particular number you want to look at. So the first part of the number is the week the tyre was made, and then the second part of the number was the year the tyre was made. Now, if that gets to 10 years old, regardless of what your tread may be really good, but if the tyres are 10 years old, you're going to need new tyres. Again, inspect the tyre wall for any gouges or cracks. Remember, you can pass an MOT and still need new tyres immediately. It's again down to the MOT station discretion, and if it's got, again, the repair centre attached to it, then they might say, well, we can order you a new tyre and put one on for you. Window tinting, this is another grey area, and the golden rule is if the manufacturers did the tints, then it's usually fine. If it's an aftermarket tint, then tread with caution, because it's down to the MOT tester's discretion. They don't use any police grade testing equipment. They do it visually, and if the garage is poorly lit, the tint may look darker than it really is, so they may just fail you on it. But the golden rule is the window screen should be 75% letting light in, and the side windows are 70% letting light in. So yeah, I wouldn't mess about with tints personally. I would just keep the car stock, and then you know this is not going to be a problem. It's the stuff you can't see that I worry about. The next grey area is exhaust noise and mods. Now, there is no decibel test in the MOT test. It's down to the tester's discretion. Is this noise louder than a standard exhaust? Whether they think it is or it's not. It's a grey area really, because it's subjective. So again, if it's stock, you're fine. If it's aftermarket sports exhaust, you're at the mercy of the tester. But one thing to note is if it's a straight pipe, that almost always fails its MOT, because you're bypassing the central boxes to reduce the emissions. So, and the catalytic converter. If the exhaust sounds like it belongs on the car that should be on a racetrack, then more than likely they're going to fail it. Now, rust. This one for me is a bit of a sore point, to be honest with you. And it all depends where the rust is and how bad it is. And if it's round structural components or within 30 centimeters of a seatbelt mounts or suspension or steering points, then it's an automatic fail. The grey area though is if it's just like a surface rust, that's usually fine. If it's flaky but solid metal, that becomes an advisory. But if it's holes and sharp edges, that's almost always a fail. And unless you have any kind of ramp, you don't know what is going on under your car. And for most people, they don't tend to look under the car in any depth anyway, more than just maybe just looking at the side of the car, but not under a ramp and having a good poke around and see what's going on. And this caught me out. Unfortunately, I had to let one of my cars go due to a bad rust problem, as you can see from these videos that I've put up here. And the cost of repairing it was more than the car is worth. So it was literally, the cost was so prohibited for sorting all the car out that I could literally go out and buy the same car again, potentially with not the problems. The only thing that I've learned is exactly where to look for that particular model to see if it's got the same problems or not. That's my learning curve, and very sad about it really, because I love the car. But anyway, that's for another video. So yeah, that's rust. The tin worm doesn't respect any type of pedigree. It just rots your car. Later cars have got better because they're using sort of aluminium bodies rather than steel bodies. But again, the subframes on some of the cars might have an aluminium body, but the subframes are still steel, so that'll rot out on UK roads with all the salt that we have to drive around on. So yeah, that's number 6, and that's rust. So number 7, the last point, is oil leaks and fluid seepage. So if you've ever looked on your drive and you see little spots of oil, you've got pretty much a problem when it comes to a MOT failure, because drips equals fail. Misting is a pass but with an advisory, but if it's leaking, the oil is leaking into the brakes or the exhaust, that's an instant fail. The grey area is older cars often seep oil, and testers expect a degree of oil leakage as long as it's not excessive. The line is crossed when it's actually actively dripping onto the floor. Please let me know down in the comments which MOT fail surprised you the most, because a lot of the grey areas are down to the MOT tester's discretion, and not every MOT station is equal. It depends on the individual. So I hope this is the 7 main areas where you could potentially fail, and I hope this gives you a little checklist to do yourself. Visually, you can just look under the car, or when you drive away, are there any drips on the floor where your car was parked? Like the video showed on the tyre, you can simply look at the tread. Does it look worn to you? Is the tyre cracked? What's the age of the tyre? To people that are into cars, this is basic stuff, but a lot of people just get in the car and drive, and they just don't bother with any of that. They think the garage will sort it out. But if you leave your MOT to the day and it passes that MOT, and if it's an older car and they can't get hold of the parts readily, that car could be off the road for a long time. And if the garage hasn't got any room for it, you're going to have to pay to get it towed or transported back to your house to store it until you can take it back to them for to being repaired. There's some argument for just running a brand new car, because you never have to worry about that. I've always run older cars and some new ones. We have one new car every year, but or every other year, or every 3 years, I should say, to avoid the MOT. But the majority of my cars are 20, 30 years old. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.